I've been thinking a couple names for this segment that we're going to have to pop up every now and then, every couple of fights, right? We got the robbery report. We could talk about someone just pulled a jack move. Someone just hit a lick, man. Listen, man, somebody went with the brink truck and robbed the damn bank. You know what I'm saying? Maycee Barber, she gets a split decision victory over Miranda Maverick. This is one, AJ, where I just have to say, because I didn't get to catch this live, I had to watch it back. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, huge win for Barber, until I watched it. And I was like, I clearly gave Miranda Maverick 2-1 in terms of the scorecard. Very clear, like not a question in my mind that says that Miranda Maverick did not win 2-1, or that she did win 2-1, excuse me. Maycee Barber, she's very content with her victory. She says she believes she did what she needed to do and the judges did what they needed to do. I think that's something you got to tell yourself to justify that in your mind, man, because this was the biggest robbery of the night, in my opinion, personally. Give me your take on what you saw, or before you give me your take on what you saw, just give me your take on just like the scorecards. I have them in front of me. It's Barber via split decision, 29-28 times 2, and then 29-28 for Miranda Maverick. So somehow, some way, the judges saw it 2-1 for Barber. Give me your take on that.
Well, Derek, this was one of those fights where I picked Barber to win, and I definitely don't think she won. Like 100%, she lost that fight. And to me, I wrote this down because the two questions you don't want to hear when you have DC or Joe Rogan or anyone interviewing you after your win are, do you think you did enough to win this fight? And do you feel like you did enough to win the decision? Like, anytime you're hearing those questions, that means that the rest of that, the question they left out is because I don't think you did. Because the rest of the world doesn't think you did enough to win this fight. So you got lucky and you had like you said, it was a bank robbery. Someone paid those judges very nicely, and hopefully they're able to spend a little cash on that side, man. But because Barber, she clearly lost the first round. Second one is a little closer. Third one, she might have gotten. I don't know though, because Maverick stayed fierce, bro. Maverick was absolutely piecing her up. And in the pre-show, I said that I liked the idea of Maycee Barber going to Team Alpha Male, so she has that kind of like grit and determination. But as long as she stayed technical and true to who she was and stayed slick, not necessarily the case. She kind of picked up all the worst aspects that Team Alpha Male has, which is biting down your mouthpiece and throwing hooks for the head. And she actually, I was noticing when I rewatched this fight, she picked up the same combo that TJ Dillashaw picked up from Team Alpha Male. They'll step forward, she'll stay in her switch stance. She's normally a southpaw fighter, but she'll go orthodox, throw a right hand, step forward, duck under, roll under, and throw that big, heavy left hook. TJ does it very, very well. He's very slick with it. But I think it's something they teach at Team Alpha Male, because I haven't seen Maycee Barber do that ever before. And she wasn't ever able to connect with that shot, even though it looked really good. She kind of just didn't seem up to snuff, if that makes sense. Because Maycee Barber, she's usually very slick, very in and out, and very strong on the wrestling. But Miranda Maverick proved that she's not really that good. Maverick came up, she was the bully of the fight, controlled the entire pace, and stopped almost all the takedowns that Maycee Barber had, where I thought Maycee Barber was going to be the one controlling the ground game. But Miranda Maverick proved she's a lot stronger. She was the bigger, stronger, and more technically sound fighter. I definitely had this one as a robbery report. This one, I don't know. But the question I have for you, Derek, is how much do you like the strategy that Maycee Barber put into play of, I'm gonna take off a couple in the first. I'm going to save some in the gas tank. I'm going to really let it loose in the last rounds. What did you think? That's a viable strategy, or you're not a fan of that one?
So I don't even know if that was her strategy, man. I just think she's a slow starter too, because this is the same thing as we saw in the last fight, where it's like, okay, you're not being able to get it round 1. Round 2, okay, a little more active. Round 3, you really pick it up. And that's exactly what she did against Alexa Grasso. I will say this. I will say that at the end of the day, I'm going to comment on that little combination you're talking about where you switch stances mid, and then I think that's a closing distance strategy, because Barbara was having a really hard time actually landing on Maverick. Maverick was in and out, hitting her with that body kick a million times, hitting her with the blitzing combos, getting right back out. So I think Maycee Barber had a hard time finding the hands, which is why she started to close the distance to try to wrestle up, clinch up against the cage, drop a couple knees, throw a little bit of stuff like that, which is what I talked about before. They're both really good at that same position, so it would be interesting to see how it panned out. I think Barber did show that she was pretty strong, man. I think that she won the strength advantage. I think Miranda Maverick had more of a technical, more fundamental on that side. But at the end of the day, man, no, I do think she needs to start faster if she wants to actually continue to pick up up wins in this top 15. Miranda Maverick, man, she did everything she needed to do to win. I would say the biggest thing is that when you know, and you commented on it for me, man, and I guess this was the first fight of the main card, which really showed this. But you said, like, hey, you cannot leave it to the judges like that, man. You got to go and do something decisive. You have to put a stamp on the fight. And in round 3, she kind of got tired, man. And that's the interesting thing to me, is that maybe you're right, and maybe Barber said, I'm gonna wait till I get her tired, and then I'm just gonna tee off on her. You know what I mean? Throw those big overhand hooks, which I still don't know why the hell she throws it, man. Yeah, you got a lot of power behind it, but that's just, it looks amateurish, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't look like, something that a real deal top 15 fighter implements in their strategy very often. At the end of the day, AJ, this was a fight, I was expecting more from both, though, to be honest with you. I was expecting a little bit more from Miranda Maverick as well. She seemed, for as much as she was talking and as much as all of that stuff, she seemed just a little hesitant to kind of throw as much as she did against like a Liana Jojua, you know what I mean? Because she was piecing her up, throwing everything in the kitchen sink. But lastly, I just wanted to comment on this. Miranda Maverick, did she look a little smaller to you? She looked just like a little smaller, and maybe she was saying she has her weight under control, the best that she's ever had. She's got the meal prep and all that good stuff. But maybe she did benefit a little bit from being a little more beefy, having a little more pop on the shot. At the end of the day, she got tired in the 3rd round, so maybe it wouldn't have been a good idea. But I just want to ask you, yeah, you do think that she looked a little smaller?
Yeah, I do think she looked a little smaller, and it might just been in comparison because Maycee Barber is the taller and also a very thick fighter, which is really, really good for her. No disrespect there. Yeah. But usually Miranda Maverick, when you see her in the ring, you think like, oh, this girl, she got some quads. She's got some serious strength behind her, and she looked a little more fit, which I honestly think she did put out a good amount of output. She was staying busy, staying strong in the fight, and like you said, in and out movement. But she wasn't landing as much of an impact as I was expecting her to land. She was tagging Barber up, but Barber was able to eat those shots and keep it rolling. Literally keep it moving, keep it going. And not actually able to get the clinch. I was kind of surprised with how much output Maverick was having. She wasn't able to get the clinch advantage. Barber was still able to put her up against the fence. She wasn't able to take her down, but she was still able to control the actual movement of Maverick. So maybe that's where the judges, we'll get into that whole debate of control a little bit later on, but maybe that's where the judges saw that she was able to do a little more in the fight. I don't know. Not my style, but it was a win is a win is a win. So
absolutely, you got to honor it. But I will say, let's talk about the global scoring right now, man. Verdict scored it 29.94 to 28.05 in favor of Miranda Maverick. And that is almost a complete point. That's almost technically 29-28. So with that being said, the world didn't see it the way that the judges did. And I will comment before we move on really quickly to the next bout. TJ Dillashaw did the same thing that Maycee Barber did in a lot of similar ways, where take the bag, just have her controlled up against the fence, but you have to do something with it. I thought we've gone over this a million times. You can't just grab somebody and hug them, because even Corey Sandhagen, he was like, ref, what's up, man? Like, this dude's just hugging me. And Miranda Maverick did the same exact thing, like, ref, I'm okay. She's just, but it also kind of looked like, I could see in the judges, it could look like frustration from the fighter. So they're like, dang, like, all right, you can complain all day, but you need to work to get out of the position instead of complaining. But with that being said, man, we'll talk about this like in the main event. But interesting decision. A win is a win is a win. And Maycee Barber comes up victorious and her first win since 2019, since she TKO'd Jillian Robertson in the first round. So she moves up one spot, back up to 13. She was at 14, but interesting nonetheless, man. Let's move on.